Hello and welcome to Dark Side of the Mic. Today we're listening to the Line Audio CM4. Now this is an absolutely tiny small diaphragm condenser mic with a wide-ish cardioid polar pattern. Now Line Audio is a one-man operation based out of Sweden, and the name is very appropriate here because this is essentially a completely flat or a linear response microphone. So you're getting as close to an uncoloured or a natural sound as you can possibly get. In the case you get the mic itself, a mic clip and a foam windscreen. Noteworthy specs include a self-noise of 16 dBA, a max SPL of 140 dB and a sensitivity of -42 dB, and of course you need 48 volt phantom power to power the mic itself. At the moment I'm recording into my Antelope Audio Zen Go with the gain at 45 dB, so fairly high for a condenser mic, and this is how it sounds. And I thought today we'd run through some comparisons with other small diaphragm mics and electric condenser mics, and you'll get a flavour of how it sounds. So first up we have the Rode M2, and while this is a handheld condenser mic, the technology inside is fairly similar. They both use electric condenser capsules. I think the Rode is an excellent choice for people starting out doing podcasts and things like that. It has a very slight presence boost in the air frequencies, so it's ideal for voices, and you get the off-axis rejection that you would typically find in a dynamic mic. And moving on, next up we have the Rode M3, which is more of a multifunctional microphone with a half-inch condenser capsule. There are a lot more options on this mic as well. It can run off phantom power or the battery. It has -10 or -20 dB attenuation switches and an 80Hz low-cut filter switch as well. Still has a fairly flat frequency response with a kind of M-shaped presence boost with peaks at 6 and 10 kHz. Really good mic, really good value and great on acoustic guitar. And next up we have the Rode VideoMicro. Now I thought I'd include this one because it uses an electric condenser capsule, and of course it's just a plug-in power mic. But I think it can sound actually pretty nice when you hook it up to a decent preamp, and it may be a little bit more noisier than the other mics, but certainly very usable in a pinch. But this is the Rode VideoMicro. Let me know how you think this one sounds. And now we've moved over onto the Aston Starlight. Now this is a very unique small diaphragm condenser mic in that it has a selectable 3-voice settings switch. So you can select between modern, vintage and hybrid modes, which change the frequency response for different kind of colorations if you like. And at the moment we're recording in the hybrid mode, which is the flattest mode out of all three and the most direct comparison that we can make to the CM4. To me, this mode reminds me very much of an SM7B style sound. It's very rich, deep and smooth in the high end. Really is a lovely sounding mic. In fact, all the modes I think have their merits for different applications. But do bear in mind that this is a £300 microphone, while the CM4 is only just over £100. So that's something to bear in mind. And finally, just because we can, we're throwing in the Sennheiser MKH416. Now this is a very unique sound for voice, I think. Very, very special in the market, and it's why it's a kind of staple in recording studios all over the world. It has a wonderful, smooth, presence boosted saturation in the high end that really is unrivaled on nearly every other mic I've tried. But we thought we'd throw this in here as a kind of reference recording, and you can compare it with the other mics. So that ends the comparisons for today. Now we're back on the CM4, and at this point I've turned on some EQ and mild compression just to let you hear how that can sound. For a mic with such a flat frequency response, its wider cardioid pattern makes the sound much more open and airy than I was expecting. It's a really nice balance. And when you compare it to the Rode M2, which is a super cardioid with a presence boost, it has a much more boxy feel to it. Being a small diaphragm mic, you need to use a pop filter, since plosive protection is pretty much non-existent, but for me that's not a big issue. I think the mic really does benefit from a little bit of EQ on spoken word, and if you compare this part of the recording with the earlier one, I just feel it cuts through that little bit more and gets the sound much closer to the Starlight or the 416. Now these mics are quite hard to get a hold of, but I managed to get one fairly quickly by emailing Roger Johnson at Line Audio, who was super helpful. So if you're interested in one of these, give that a try. I think it's a fantastic deal.